Can you tell me your full name?
Betty Ann Donnelly.
What's your date of birth?
June 5th, 1940.
And how old are you?
Be 83 in a couple weeks.
Where were you born?
In Poultney, Vermont.
What are your parents' names?
Louise Foster and Donnelly Squires.
And then what about the people who raised you? What are their names?
Louis and Florence Martell.
And what are your siblings' names? You had a lot.
Let's see, there's Norma, Dottie, Alice, Charles, Bobby.
And then you. What do you feel is the secret to your good health or your longevity?
Just keeping busy.
What do you do to stay young?
Just work and chase kids and love the grandchildren.
Then you have how many grandchildren about?
Like 120 grand,
Yeah.
great.
Can you tell me your 6 kids' names?
Alice, Tina, Golan the third, yeah, and Terry, Tammy, and Shane.
What is your earliest memory that you have?
Earliest memories, a good one or a bad one?
Give me both if you
Getting
want.
my butt whipped.
Okay.
That's when I was maybe a little over 3. I ran away trying to catch a bobcat to get her kittens.
Oh no. Who whipped you? Who was doing that?
My mother.
What about your happiest early memory?
Watching my baby brother walk on the bridge up in the mountains where we live.
Do you remember where that was?
I don't remember the name. It's in Arlington, but it's way up in the mountains.
Yeah. What brother was that?
Well, we called him Bert, but it's Tom.
What do you remember about where you grew up?
A lot of different things, I guess.
Yeah.
As we lived, well, during the summer, we'd walk and live way up in the mountains in a camp. During the winter, we'd come down out and stayed in a house on the hill there in East Arlington.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you go in the summer? What camp or what city was that? Do you remember?
It was in Arlington, but
Awesome.
it was out up in the mountains of Arlington.
Yeah.
So,
And there was a cabin you guys stayed in?
yeah, it was an old cabin. Walk up in, stay in the cabin for the summer.
Who was with you?
My mother and was it Tink, Alice, and I, and my mom had Bert up there.
Do you remember any fun memories at that camp at all?
Some
Yeah.
bad ones, but
Yeah.
some good ones.
Uh-huh.
You know, because we'd play in the river. We had to go out and pick, break pine boughs to make our beds to sleep on.
Yeah.
And I woke up one morning with a big snake curled up on my chest and started screaming. My brother threw it out the window. I don't know what kind of snake it was.
You didn't stick around to find out.
I was too little.
Yeah, I don't blame you. What were your grandparents' names?
I never knew my grandmother.
Okay.
My grandfather, you would.
I know, I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
Caterette is all I can tell you.
Caterette was his last name, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Caterette. What memories do you have with them?
I was, I think, kind of his favorite.
Yours favorite.
And when he passed away, I don't know, some people don't believe me, but when he passed away, he come to my bedroom and said, "Don't worry, Betty, I'll be okay."
Wow.
And I woke up in the morning and Florence said, "I got to tell you something." I said, "I know, Grandpa passed away."
Wow.
And he come to see me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
I had to be like 6 or 7.
Do you remember what he passed away from or why he passed
Cancer.
away? And what side was that on? Your dad's side or your mom's side?
My mom's
Your mom's side, right?
father.
Yeah, because you probably never knew your dad's side grandparents either,
No,
right?
not until I got older.
Yeah, because you never knew your dad was Donnelly Squires, right? You told me about how you learned about that as a adult.
Called me down nursing home when I was on my 50th birthday and told me who he was. I'd met him a couple times. He came to the door a couple times and knocked on the door and wanted to see his grandchildren. And I, hesitant, but I asked my mother, and she says, none of your business who he is.
Yeah.
And then on my 50th birthday, she told me that it was him.
Wow.
So,
were they not married when they had you? Is that part of the reason why?
I don't think they were, because Bert and I were the only ones that have the same father. It was against the law back then to have children out of wedlock.
What would they do if somebody found out that they were born out of wedlock?
They'd take the children.
So now I know that you were kind of adopted by your sister who took you in. So kind of talk about that. You said that your mom gave you up for adoption to her and that she and her husband raised you. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
When Boney came home from the military, he said he didn't want to raise Louise alone. He took me in so could raise me as her sister. And it wasn't too bad. My sister was a mean lady, but it wasn't bad.
And which sister was this?
Florence. Yeah.
Florence. So Florence is your sister, and then Boney was her husband.
Yeah.
So they kind of raised you. And you talked about you had to do like chores and stuff, right? And you had to quit school at a young age to be able to take care of Louise, their daughter.
Yeah, I had to quit school when I was 16 and go to work.
Wow.
And
yeah. What grade did you make it up to?
I just started 10th grade. I just started 10th grade. I turned 16. I went to school in West Paulet to 8th grade, and then Granville for 9th and well, it would have been about a half a year probably in Granville, because I turned 16 in June.
Did you have a favorite subject or a favorite teacher that you can remember in school?
My favorite teacher was Miss Dorvac. She was my English teacher. My favorite subject was homemaking.
Sewing and baking and all that kind of stuff. What did you and your siblings do for fun when you were kids?
I never knew my siblings.
Yeah.
Really, I never knew Florence was my sister until we got older.
Yeah.
I never knew my mother was my mother until I was 10 years old. So
what did you and Louise do? Because you kind of grew up as like almost her older sister.
I don't know. We had to get up, do our chores, and get our buns outdoors and stay out until supper time. We just went out and played. And
Do you remember any games that you would play?
what was it like? Well, we played cops and robbers and cowboys and Indians, jump rope, and I don't know, just different kids games I did. You know, like that Red Rover and all of those games. Yeah.
Have you ever smoked before, or do you drink wine or alcohol?
I used to smoke with friends. We'd play cards and like that during the day, and we'd have smoke or whatever.
Yeah.
And I drink a little wine once in a while.
Yeah.
A little glass of wine. Well, the doctor had me on red wine for a while for my blood. I prefer a sweeter wine.
What do you typically eat for breakfast?
A cup of coffee and a piece of toast.
What's your favorite kind of coffee?
Well, it's changing. It's a pumpkin caramel.
And you like your hazelnut creamer. What was a typical day like when you had kids?
Run. Yeah. Very, very busy when they were in school. Get them up, ready for school, do the housework, start supper.
Yeah.
And Grandpa had to work a lot of nights till 8, 9 o'clock, so I'd get their supper, them to bed, and then have a sandwich or supper with him when we got home. So.
Yeah. Did you work during the time that your kids were growing up at all? Like, did you have a job?
Not till Tammy started school. And I went to work when she started at the hail company for 19 years.
What did you do there?
I sanded, inspected, anything they wanted me to do. So.
And they made like,
dining room
chairs.
furniture.
Did you like that job?
I like parts of that job.
What did you want to be when you grew up when you were little?
Mother.
Did you think that you were going to have 6 kids?
We wanted a big family. We had our kids, and we took in a lot of children. We have a lot of kids in town call us Grandma and Grandpa and Aunt and Uncle.
Tell me about some of the kids that you took in over the years that you can remember.
I don't remember all their names, but we took in a birch boy. We found the family living in a milk house. And we took in the baby, and we had him probably a year and a half. And Mom discovered she could get welfare if she come and got the baby, so she come and got back and got the baby. And we had a beautiful teenage girl. Her dad was very mean, and the state brought her to us for. She was only with us like a couple weeks or so, and they were going to make her go live with some family, and she ran away. Nobody ever heard from her again.
She ran away from your house before they came to pick her up?
No, from the family they put her with, yeah.
Oh, okay.
She took off. The last she was seen, she was hitchhiking.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And which of your kids would have remembered her?
I think she was one of Alice's friends. I think it was Alice that brought her home, but we never know. We'd come home from work at night. Sometimes we'd have half a dozen kids here because they'd come. New neighbor move in town. Junior would go over and help them unload their truck and invite them for supper.
What time do you typically go to bed and wake up in the morning?
Right now, I usually go to bed between 10 and 11, and I get up between 4 and 6.
And what about throughout your life? Like when you and Grandpa first married, or when you were dating, and then when you had kids, kind of how did that change? Did you always get up so early?
Well, Grandpa had to be to work. That was a long time ago. I think he had to be to work like 6:37, so we always got up early for him to go to work. And
can you tell me about some of your favorite TV shows or movies that you've seen through the years? Could be recent or older.
well, I like all the old sitcoms, Golden Girls, Lucy. Well, I love Raymond, a lot of the older ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then the movies, my favorite was on Golden Pond and any Western. Anything with an animal,
Yeah.
the horses, Flicka we watched, and any of the animals. So.
What about favorite music? What kind of music do you listen to, or what are your favorite artists?
I like country music, George Jones. Oh, I have so many, Reba. A lot of the country, a lot of the old singers we've seen, like Dottie West. Can't even think of the names of them. But a lot of the old singers, we went to concerts and stuff and see them.
Where did you go to concerts mostly?
When I was younger, they would play at drive-in theaters, and then later it was the Civic Center in Glens Falls.
What do you do when you're stressed out?
Cry.
What tends to make you stressed out?
Sometimes I think it's not knowing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you see your children go through something and you know how it's going to end up, but nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you just get stressed and go off in another room and cry.
Yeah.
When they were little and I had put my hand on their buns,
Yeah.
I'd go in the other room and cry because I didn't want them to see me cry, but you had to get after them. So.
Yeah. Would you say that growing up, as your kids were growing up, would you say that you were more of the punisher enforcer, or would you say Grandpa, or were you kind of both depending on who saw what?
Well, I'd say I was the one that had to punish him or try to correct him. He worked.
Yeah.
He had to work to support all the family because he didn't want me to work till the kids were grown or like that. Tammy was an expensive baby. I had to go to work. So.
What about when you were a kid? Like, would you say that, and I know your mom gave you up for adoption pretty early, but your birth mom or, your older sister, Florence, who kind of raised you, or Bonnie, which one of those three would you say was more of the enforcer or corrector there for you?
Florence was very
Florence,
mean.
yeah.
She'd hit you with anything she had in her hand.
What can you remember getting hit with?
She'd make you go out and break off branches, little branches, and bring them home, and they had a whistle when she swung them.
Ooh.
If they didn't whistle, you had to go get another one, and then you got a whooping with it.
Yeah. What kinds of things do you remember getting in trouble for? Can't imagine you getting in that much trouble.
For anything, really. Not having the housework done.
Yeah.
Not have Louise would do something and I was responsible for her. So being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because one day I whooped Florence and she went crying to Bonnie and Bonnie sat there laughing at her.
How are your social media skills?
They're getting better.
Yeah.
With Jacob's help. He's my text man, but
Yeah.
but I think I'm getting better on it. When I had my laptop, I think I did a lot more on that, where the iPad is more games. I like solitaires and like that. So
Yeah. Back in the day, it was Farmville. I remember getting up in the middle of the night to harvest crops.
Yeah, years ago it was Farmville and like that when those games come out.
Are you religious?
Yeah.
Yeah? What would you say your religion is?
Born again Christian.
Yeah. And have you been going to church your whole life?
Yes, my whole life, yeah, because I went to Sunday school, and Florence, mainly, I don't remember Bonnie ever going. Florence I used to go once in a while on holidays only, but we went to Sunday school and church. I rode to it, really. So.
What church was that you grew up in?
Oh, I don't remember what. It was a congregational church because the big church is burnt down. But it was right across the road almost from the house. Because I was raised in that, where the double wide trailer is now. That's where I was raised, in West Pollock. Florence and Bonnie took me. They owned that place, and I bought it from Florence when she moved down to camp. So.
Can you tell me about one of your best friends growing up? Maybe a memory you had with them, or if you remember any of their names or anything?
Well, Shirley Sumner was really my closest friend, but they lived almost next door. And she was my friend for years. And then she, after John passed away, she moved up in northern Vermont some. My best friend in school was Katie, and we found her again later in life, that over in Gansford.
Okay.
She went to church over there with my sister-in-law. So.
What about as an adult, or like when you and Grandpa got married, did you have any friends at your wedding that you can remember?
No, there was nobody that I wouldn't. Florence and Bonnie, Charles and Peggy, because they stood up with us, and I think Aunt Edith was there.
Can you tell me the story about how you and Grandpa met, or how you got engaged?
Well, we met. They had to be the end of October, November. It's still apple picking time.
Yeah.
You come over and ask me for a date, and we dated. We went on little picnics. Grab a pound of hot dogs and make a bonfire beside the road and cook them. Just little things, and riding around the lake and stuff before the roads got too bad, but like that. And then he asked me to marry him. Well, we was riding around the lake one day, and he asked me to marry him, and his friend that was driving answered, and he says, "I wasn't talking to you."
Did his friend say yes at least?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Good. It was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were married in February. So.
Yeah, 4 months from meeting to married, right?
Yep.
You met around October, and that was 1956, and then you married on Valentine's Day in 1957. You guys were together for 66 years, 6 kids, and over 120 descendants, grandkids and great-grandkids, now great-greats. And I remember you telling me, too, when Grandpa started coming around, like in, I guess it would have been the fall time, around October, that he had like sideburns and a bunch of like facial hair, and you told him you wouldn't date him.
Yeah, I didn't. He had a motorcycle and a beard.
You told him not till you clean up, right?
No.
Come back when you're shaving. That's funny. And Grandpa had a motorcycle, but he said that he used to like taking you on rides, but he said that you used to fall asleep on the back, so he had to sell it because he was afraid you'd fall right off falling asleep, right?
Yeah, because I cuddle up to him and just go right off sleep. So.
That's awesome. Well, he must have been a good driver then. Yeah. What do you feel is the most important invention that you've seen in your entire lifetime?
Most important, I'd say, was the electric light. I can remember when they first brought the electricity in.
Yeah.
a light bulb, one string of lights, and one light bulb over the, I think it was like the kitchen table.
How old would you have been then?
I had to be, well, I was still with Mom. I had to be like maybe 3.5, 4.
And it was just above your dining room table. Do you remember about how much that would have cost your family to do?
No, I don't think they ever said.
They didn't say?
But no.
No.
And then the other one, and I don't think it was a good idea, was the television. Well, Boney brought one home. I'm trying to think. Louise and I had to be like 8, 9 years old. He brought a TV home. Black and white with a little round screen.
How many channels would you say you got?
I think we got 3 channels. He had the antenna on the roof.
And as far as like computers and stuff like that, when did you get your first computer, or when did you start learning a computer?
Because I got that thing, it was like a computer, the dial-up, when we lived on the switch road, web TV. When we moved to Danby, I got the regular big screen and everything, and then
Yeah.
when I moved to West Paula, I got an iPad, so
Yeah.
I keep going up.
Do you remember when you got your first microwave?
Oh, we've been married quite a while. Because when we first got married, we had a table and 2 chairs and a bed. That's all we had. I think we lived in West Paula on the hill there when we got the first microwave. Heard anything about a microwave? It had to be, let's see, June Terry was born there, I think.
So you cooked everything on a stove before then.
Yeah.
And you guys had a potbelly stove at one point too, didn't you? Like a
Yeah, we had
wood-fired
a
potbelly?
wood stove in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know,
When did you get your first stove, like an electric stove?
when we bought our first trailer, that had to be, I was pregnant for Alice. We bought a small house trailer and that had a stove in it. But then Grandpa lost his job and got $18 we got employment, something like that. So we had to let the trailer go back and just rented a house.
How did he lose his job? I didn't know that.
The place moved, the company moved, I think they moved out to Ohio or somewhere. When we first met, he was, can't remember the name of the company for sure, but he was laid cement blocks and mud tender and stuff.
What is the weirdest fad that you remember as you were kind of growing up, maybe as a teenager or young adult?
Well, I'd say those bell-bottom pants. They were terrible. And the girls had those poodle skirts. Some girls that looked good on, but other ones that didn't. I don't think I ever got involved in any of the fads because we didn't have money. You wore what you had or what people give you because you didn't have, you didn't go out and buy stuff.
Right. Did anybody like sew any clothes, or did you get them mostly from like hand-me-downs, thrift
I
stores?
don't know. Well, Florence, I think, did some sewing like that. But the only time you went to the store was just before school started. You'd go get a pair of shoes. And they had last year all year. And that would, and otherwise it was, I think, more or less hand-me-downs because I never had a new blouse till I got married. I bought a new blouse. So.
Do you remember any of your favorite gifts growing up? What were the holidays like?
I can remember one, I don't know if it was Easter or Christmas. I think it was Christmas. Louise and I got a dollhouse.
Yeah.
But that's the only toy I ever remember, but we didn't have toys, a metal store-bought one.
What about for your birthday? Did you ever get to go celebrate your birthday?
Not really. They just made, it was just a little family thing, like maybe probably after supper you had a cake and that was it.
What would you say is your best advice that you would have for a young person today?
Trying to think what the best advice. I don't know. There's so many different things you'd want to say. Just, I don't know. Just be yourself and don't try to be somebody that you're not. And be polite and be thankful.
What about advice for your younger self, or maybe something you wish that you had known when you were younger, or you wish somebody else had said to you when you were younger?
I don't know. But we grew up so poor. No, I know I wish I could have finished school,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
you can look back at things now, but it's not something you could have had couldn't have done. So
And do you have any regrets from your lifetime?
oh, not after I got married. I don't have no regrets, but before that, sometimes I wish that I had been adopted instead of just given it away. But I made it through life.
If you could go back to any age that you've been, what age would you choose to be and why?
I'd want to be back to 16, 17 and get married again.
What kinds of memories do you have around 16, 17? Like what fun things you remember?
Well, that's when I met Grandpa. That's really when I started to have fun because we could go out together. He had a car. And
What would you say was your best decade or your favorite decade through the years?
the best decade would have been the late 50s, early 60s, because that's when I was married and started having kids.
What did you and Grandpa used to do for fun when you were dating before you had kids?
We went square dancing and we just go riding and stop and buy something and have a little picnic side the road, just sit and visit and talk.
Did you like Grandpa's friends? Did you meet his friends? Did you like them?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I liked most all of his friends. There was a couple that were questionable, but
What about your friends? Did he get along good with your friends?
yeah, I think he did pretty good. He got along.
Yeah? And all your friends liked him and all his friends liked
yeah.
you?
Yeah, well, Katie and Smokey liked him. Shirley and John liked him, like that.
What would you say are some of the most important lessons that you've learned in your lifetime?
Important lesson? No. Just you gotta forgive people, but then be careful. I'd say that's one thing, because once you get hurt, you just step back. You gotta forgive, because you can't live your life back then. You gotta go on.
Is there anything that you wanted to do that you never got around to do?
Yeah, I wanted to finish high school. I always wanted to learn to play the violin.
I didn't know that.
And I guess that was it. 'Cause the main thing, I just wanted to be a mother, and
Yeah.
we always wanted to see Australia. And I think in a way we wanted to go to Hawaii, but that got too commercialized. We did get to go on our cruise. That was our big trip.
Where did you guys go on your cruise?
The Bahamas. We loved the ship. We toured the ship from the chapel in the top way down and watched the captain steering the boat. So I don't think Grandpa ever went out of the country. No, because I went to Canada.
What kind of fun memories you have traveling?
Well, we had fun. We went to Colorado quite a few times to see his brother. The kids were all pretty good in travel. And then I went with Rosie to California. And we went to Florida. Quite a few times we went to Florida. We went down to see Joan and Tom in Carolinas. He was stationed down there. So
You guys did a lot of traveling.
yeah.
What do you think is your favorite place that you've seen, or favorite trip that you've taken, or vacation you've been on through the years?
Well, I think our favorite was going to Colorado. It was so pretty out there. And yeah, we'd go to the beach every year that we could.
What accomplishments are you the most proud about that you've accomplished in your life?
My children.
Yeah. What is your favorite color?
I'd almost say a gray or orange.
Okay. What about your favorite flower?
Daisies, lilacs.
What about favorite vegetable?
I like all vegetables, really. Peas or tomatoes,
What about your favorite fruit?
berries, any kind of berries. So.
What's your favorite holiday?
Oh, it used to be Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't know what it's going to be now, but
Yeah.
it used to be Thanksgiving or Christmas. All the family would be together.
What's your favorite season?
Fall.
What is your favorite movie?
on Golden Pond.
What about a favorite song? Do you have a favorite song?
I don't want to say it, makes me cry.
Oh, that's all right. Do you prefer cats or dogs or both?
I don't know. I think both. Any animal.
A favorite food in general that you have?
Coffee.
Coffee. What about like actual food?
Well, chips maybe.
Can you tell me about the pets that you've had in your lifetime?
I've had a lot of different pets. When I was little, I had a little white dog named Skippy. And then over the years, we've had several dogs. And I can't remember all their names, but when we lived up on the hill, we had Lucky. Junior gave her to us. She was supposed to be a miniature collie. She kept growing, but she was a beautiful dog. And then we had Baby and Max and Shania and Pretty Baby. Mm-hmm. She was beautiful. White hair. When we moved up on the hill, she go out and lay in the woods, like nobody could see her, but she stuck out like a sore thumb laying down on a log. Bella, before this Bella, and then we had a lot of cats. I had Teddy Bear. I had Sassy and Pepper, and we have the dog Bella Rose.
Can you tell me about the log cabin that you and Grandpa had put up on the Switch Road in West Pollock for you?
Well, we had, we bought the land and had a lot of people help us clear it and cut the logs and get bulldozers in and get the tree stumps out and get it leveled, cement poured, get the double wide hauled up in there and put together. And it was a beautiful spot up there, 17 acres, yeah. Quite a walk down to get the mail. And I had the daycare, the school bus would pick up kids right there at the mailbox. They did back up the driveway once because, I think it was when Tom was visiting. I lost track of the time. I hadn't made it down to meet the bus, and she backed up the driveway. You
were talking about how that house, like you had to save up money for a long time and basically live off of sandwiches and stuff.
Yeah, that's the first house we bought there in West Pollock. We lived on sandwiches and tomato soup for, I don't remember how many weeks until we had the down payment.
Do you remember how much that house cost to buy back in the day?
It was $5,000 to buy the house. I think we had to have $500 down, something like that. The apartment we were living in was $18 a month until we got everything signed on the house.
Remember like the prices of anything growing up, or as like a newlywed, like around how much like a gallon of milk or let's say like a gallon of gas costs?
Well, our favorite was bananas back then. You could buy 10 pounds for $1.
Yeah.
You'd go to the bread store, you'd get a whole big bag of bread and donuts and, all the day-old stuff for $2. And it had, it would have bread in it and all kinds of Danish and donuts. Enough to last you for all week.